when you say embrace it, what do you mean, first of all? And then second, how does embracing it help you? Is it that you're no longer spending emotional and intellectual cycles on something pointless, or what does that look like?
I think embracing it means like, okay, I actually have to find a solution to this problem, right? So I think a lot of times in life, we try to kind of put Band-Aids on our problems or issues. And instead of, for instance, the Instagram era, right? Instead of actually being successful or like moving out of our mom's basement or whatever, we put so much energy and time into the presentation of not looking like that's the situation, instead of putting the energy and time into actually finding a solution to that issue. And so at that point, it was like, okay, I've been putting a lot of time and effort trying to pretend things are good instead of actually trying to find solutions. And then that's when I started to do everything I needed to do to try to make money. And just really, when I say embrace, it's not necessarily like accept it for what it is. It's almost like, okay, this is real. I need to figure this out.
Yeah, I think that's really powerful. I was just talking the other day about something very similar, about you have to first accept your reality, accept the truth of where you are.
Right.
And once you accept the truth of where you are, then you're not wasting the cycles on that. Then you can switch over into a solution-oriented mindset, which sounds like exactly what you were doing.
Yeah.
So how did you begin to strategize your way out of that? You were, I mean, at that point, pretty young. I don't think you'd ever done anything truly entrepreneurial.
No.
So without any role models to chase, like, how did you begin to put those pieces together?
Honestly, it was just learning from people on the street, right? So you kind of take in your surroundings, you take in the people around you, you see how they're making money. And I just didn't like begging people for money. And so I respected the guys that were like figuring out hustles, right? And so, for instance, there was a Amoco right down the street from me. And so I would go there and I would wash windshields and make money, just try to save up enough money to just be in a motel for the night. And I mean like the nastiest motel, but for me, it was just taking in my environment, seeing how other people hustled, how I can do it better. Someone taught me how to play drums on buckets and things like that. And so, you know, I just tried to do any type of hustle that I could to kind of make things happen. And you kind of learn like a lifestyle. It's like, oh, I'm going to school dirty. No, go to the gas station, go use the bathroom, use the soap in there, use the paper towels in there, clean yourself up. You figured out ways to kind of hustle. Like the way I discovered tech was that I used to go into I never went to the library. And I'm like, whoa, this place is open till 8 and is warm and it has computers and internet. What? No one told me about this. And so I just started to learn how others were moving and kind of adapted throughout.
It's really interesting, and it's really interesting to watch you in retrospect begin to put the pieces together, to be a voracious learner. And one thing that you've talked about learning from that is one of my favorite subjects ever is that, and let's piss some people off here really fast, drug dealers are extraordinary entrepreneurs.
Right.
And so my wife and I have a philosophy, so I talked about it in your intro, it doesn't matter where you start from, it just matters who you want to become, the price you're willing to pay to get there. And I find that most people are not willing to pay the price of really hustling, really figuring things out. But we put out on the street that we would hire people even if they had a criminal record. And so we ended up having a line around the building for people just trying to interview. This is back at Quest. And it was crazy, man. Some of the most extraordinary people that I met with criminal backgrounds, ex-gang members, former drug dealers. We had one guy that just told me straight up, like, oh, I was trying to get this job as a front for my drug money. And I was like, that's actually really clever. I was kind of impressed. And so he and I ended up getting really close, and he's gone on to do extraordinary things. But when he was breaking down for me what a drug dealer has to do to pay attention to, like, to know where the cameras in the neighborhood point, to know where the blind spots are, to know what undercover cops are around based on the cars they drive and everything. I mean, it's just really extraordinary. And he was talking to me about how he didn't call them employees, but like how he dealt with his crew. And I was like, dude, I'm like, you're a better entrepreneur naturally than I am by far, but I've done more because I've taken an approach that is far more scalable, because essentially what you're selling is risk. But talk to me about that, because you both learned from them, but didn't succumb, you didn't go back to it. So I want to understand like how you begin to tease out knowledge from people that are very unconventional without just going, well, it's what I see, so it's what I'm going to do.
So my supplier That was the first COO that I ever met. Like literally, like being a drug dealer is like being a chief operating officer. The things that they have to be aware of, all the types of people that they're dealing with and things like that. And you got to realize that, it's almost like a two-sided, marketplace in the sense of like dealing with, people who are supplying you with that, the person that's supplying you, like it's, two different sides to it. And so it's really impressive. And at the time, I didn't realize the things that I was kind of taking in and kind of learning. You have sales goals. You have to learn people skills. You have to be able to discern, different situations. I talk about my time being homeless and my time selling drugs is like, those are the times where I really develop my emotional intelligence, because you get to meet people from all different walks of life. People think the only people that were buying drugs were from the hood. Like, no, like it was like VCU students, Virginia Commonwealth University, sorry, VCU. But like college students, like all different types of people were coming around, and you would see like, and you have to be able to discern for that is like, yo, this guy that looks like shouldn't be in our neighborhood. Is this guy undercover cop? Is this guy college student? We had all different like methods to, trying to figure those types of things out. But for me, it provided a source of inspiration. And a lot of people feel uncomfortable with that. But I grew up not having anything, And so to see these guys with the nice jewelry, the nice cars, the newest Jordans and things like that, not saying that they were spending their money on the right things, but it showed me that my family and a lot of people around me had just accepted a certain level of mediocrity that was generational. And so for me, I looked at them as, wow, if you have the motivation to do something for yourself and make something, there's a lot of drug dealers. There's not a lot of drug dealers that are making real money, right? It takes a certain je ne sais quoi, to get to a point where you become a boss, right? And so for me, it showed me how you can separate yourself from the pack and really run things the way that it should be.